before we actually the presentation here. I feel like it's better we look at the actual website itself. So this whole entire website was built from scratch because the previous website was really bad. So as you can see here, we have the main page with the different carousels. We have the footer links for where we want to go. Contact page here, if you try to type something in, it will send us an email about it. And just a bunch of different stuff. We have all the different departments of whoever is here. We also have staff page where there's a staff member here. See all the different news or stuff. Just the PDF that they have. And you can change between the different languages on the top left over here. Along with that, we have a mobile version as well. So if you look at this on your phone, it'll look a little bit different. And then it is also responsive as well. So if we keep shrinking it down, it'll end up looking something like this. Along with a mobile header over here. And yeah, that's basically the website. So first for the info here, this is the GitHub URL for the website. It's called Phase 3, and here are just some important links. Using Node, Git, VS Code, and MongoDB Compass to edit our database stuff. And we also are using AWS for our storage and deployment. So if you actually go to the GitHub, there is a bunch of text over here about getting introduced to stuff, installing it, and how to get your environment set up. So for this specific project, we have a couple important libraries we want to go over. First of all is we're using React. That's our current front-end framework. And along with that, we're using Redux Toolkit or Redux Toolkit Query, which is basically our global state management and to manage all of our front-end APIs. Next thing is I18Next, which is basically a translation between English that we use to translate between English and Vietnamese. And we have Mirage.js to do a mock-up backend. So when I first started this, there wasn't really a backend, so I just used a library here just to mock it all up before we actually send it to Anne to officially make it for Java. There's also Tailwind CSS. Don't worry about this. We have TypeScript over here, which is just static typing to make sure our code is much more efficient. And we're using SCSS for our CSS compiler to make it a lot easier to just style stuff. So for our folder structure, here are the 4 main folders. First, we have the components where we house all of our HTML components. It's separated into 3 different subfolders here. We have the shared components, which is reusable components we kind of use everywhere. That is the main component. UI wrapper is also a reusable component, but it's used to wrap around other common HTML elements so that we can easily modify on every single pages. And next up is the view component, which is where the actual page component where we want to put all of our components on. Next up is the interface, which is how we want to store and structure all of our data on the back end. And then is the libraries folder where I have all the individual libraries that we just talked about in the previous slide. We have the I18Next, which for the translation has the English and Vietnamese folder where we can modify the JSON file. We have Mirage, where we have a database folder where we have a bunch of mock-up JSON files so that we can have a lot of mock data. And then a raw-search.ts, which is basically the main file that loops everything in. next thing is the Redux toolkit. This is where majority of our API and state management stuff will be at. The API folder is where we will make all of our API calls. Custom is where we have our middleware stuff, so we can intercept the API. The endpoint is we currently have one endpoint right now, which is R2L API, but later on, if we want to integrate other APIs like Amazon and stuff like that, we will just put it over here. Reducers is where global state management is at, and store is where the main configuration is at. And then there's a styles folder with a store variable that's SXS to store the variables for all these styles. So, how do we do translations? So, as you can see here in the IATX folder, we have two translation.json folder. And if you look over here, this is basically how we do the regular translation over here. So, classes title, classes, this class subtitle, that'll be this. We also have something called a dynamic HTML translations, where instead of us actually having to do a bunch of different translation and then putting it in, we can then translate it along with creating it with an HTML element. So it will take this whole entire thing over here and generate the whole entire HTML along with translating it. And next thing is you can see how it's looking over here. So if you look over here, this is like about.info. You just put it over here in this dynamic translation, and it'll generate the whole entire HTML page from it. And then this is how the basic translations work. You just have to import this in, and then you can access it from from the JSON file. All right, the next thing is the database. This is basically the base 3 database where all of our main database stuff is at. And if we look at one of these things over here, this is basically how the data is structured. So along with the translation in the application, we also have translation on the database as well. So for any specific dynamic data that we have in the database, you can see there's a translation object over here where we just want to have the English and the Vietnamese over here. Next thing after this is how do you make an API? So first thing we do is we make an interface to basically get out roughly a sketch of what the object is going to be. And then after we make this object over here, we then make a corresponding JSON file over here so that we can translate it over to the interface. So using Mirage.js over here, I made an example announcement JSON. And then after that, I go to the Mirage.js starter file, and I add it over here as an example backend API request. So if I call /announcements over here as an API call, it will do this and return me all the different announcements. After that, you need to add it into the Redux toolkit as an API call. So this will be an example of an API call to announcements over here. And after doing this, it will generate you a JavaScript function that you can then run to get back that data. So we call it use get announcement query over here. You would then.
And so every time you create a new page and you have a new interface, some new data.
Yeah.
So for development, we're using the app automatically calls Mirage.
We use Mirage just to test out all your API stuff.
But it doesn't pull from the backend yet.
It doesn't pull from the backend yet. It pulls from the specific database JSON file over here. So it allows you to quickly mock stuff up. And then once your feature is actually complete, I would then just go to you and be like, hey, here's how the data is supposed to be structured. Here's how it's supposed to work. And yeah. And then, so as you can see here, using this single function, I then this thing over here response, and I put it into something called a query list. And what this query list over here is basically a wrapper component, which makes it a lot easier to output the API. So if we look at what a query lists over here is, it takes in a response from the query, from the API call, and then depending on the response, okay? If we're currently calling the API, okay, it's gonna be in its loading phase, where it's just gonna show a loading icon. If there's an error, it'll show us the error component. If there's actually data, it'll show us the whole entire child, which would be down over here. But if there's no data at all, then it'll just show an empty page component. And it'll say something like, no data was returned for this component. All right, next thing is the styling. So for this specific project, we did not use any of the styling libraries like Bootstrap and stuff like that, which means I manually styled every single component by hand over here. And every single component that you have will have a .scss file where it houses all the different stylings for that specific component. And as you can see here, we have a bunch of stuff called CSS variables, which makes it a lot easier for us to modify every single, customize the site however we want it. So if I just go over here, this shows you all the different CSS variables I have over here. So if I want to change the query size of a specific page when we scale it down, this would be it over here. So, and then, you know, if we want to change the coloring of the website, we can just change the coloring over here. How we want to, if we want to adjust every single border on a specific page, we would do it here, font size, yada, yada, yada.
Is this built on, this isn't, you can't do this with regular CSS, but.
Yeah, so we're using SCSS. It takes our CSS and then it compiles it down to regular CSS.
And then you can also have a hierarchy.
Yeah. All right, so how do we add a page? So first of all, we need to create a page component here under the view. So I have this thing called home view over here, which imports in the carousel component. After we make that page component, we would then add it into an index.ts over here. This will basically help us sort out all the different pages to then import it in. And after that, we would then need to go to the app.tsx folder where we would add in, this is where we add in all the different page components over here. And as you can see, all of these pages are grouped by something called a group layout over here. So what group layout is, it basically allows you to have some common layout component that takes kind of like takes everything. It's better if I show it here. So this will be a default layout, you know, just has a header and then every other component in there. But if you make something a header group layout, all right, it'll automatically get the info from the database about a subheader, which you can then display over here. So as you can see over here, you have several subheaders over here that you want as a layout. Later on, we might want to have something called an admin layout as well. So if you go to that specific page under an admin layout, it will force you to log in. And that is about it. I just made this like an hour ago. But as for the code over here,
do we have a dev site to test out the code with?
you would need just to run it locally.
Really, Tom?
Alright, this might be a little bit of the older version over here, but here is the actual code of the whole entire repository. So, first of all, before I talk about anything else about this, is there any questions? Just kind of like went over it really quick.
Do we have anything that where we don't have to do any kind of updates?
What do you mean by that?
So let, the admin staff take care of all the updates. If they wanna change some information, let them change it, so we don't have to touch the code. Do we have
Yeah.
that available yet?
So for that, we currently do not have the functionality to actually, have like an admin control panel where we can actually edit the data through the website itself. Currently right now, in order to actually edit the data, you need to actually go to using DB Compass over here and actually edit the specific info. So let's say, you wanna change something with the staff,
Mhm.
Okay, so on the staff, right, it said pool, how did it display on the database, on the screen? It said first come, first serve, the row at the top will show up first?
Basically, yes, there isn't a sort order for this database right now. So currently, it will just show according to the list.
Is there any way we can change, for example, this one right here, can we change it for the classroom ID? You see in the tag there, on that, right there where you're,
Yeah, class one.
that would, can we
Yeah.
sort it per that? That way they'll know, everything's always gonna be sorted by that class number. Is there,
Yeah, you can
is
sort
there a
by
way
that.
we can change that?
You can add it as a query up over here, and then it'll sort by that, or you can just edit.
Well, not to view, but how it's displayed on the page, when it pulls this data, how does the page know to what picture goes first, for example?
It doesn't know which to go first, but, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, that's fine. So we look at the, teachers. Okay, you see how it's sorted, all the classes in alphabetical and numerical order. So numerical for the class number, and then alphabet for which class comes first. But then we'll get down to this, and we won't be able to do that for this at all. This will make sure we'll have to divide a different class and whatnot,
Yeah, so currently right now, the order and how it is set is basically just, the order from this. We just need to add a sort order as an actual data column here.
Another, okay, another column.
Otherwise I would have to do it manually, right? You have to add like 1A, 1B.
Well, it's already there, it's already in there for.
You just have to move the group, right? Move
That
that
makes
JSON message up, if you wanna
Okay.
show before.
So it just grabs the first one, and that whoever's first picture comes
That's what I've
first.
been doing too.
Yeah.
So all 1A.
But it would be good if we can sort it by group, group would be the class, and then, which class number, which class letter, class A, B, or C, D,
You
E.
can also modify the backend as well. So,
Okay, so basically, the back end can, also massage the data before giving it to you. Right,
Yeah,
so
we
we
would have
could,
to massage the
basically,
data, yeah.
and he work on the back end, right, so he can, go in and.
If we create another collection, maybe if it has like a order, and the backend would probably just sort all the teachers based on that order.
we just modify the backend here to be, sort by class name.
Class name, whatever, same thing, there's gonna be multiple, because we have. It's not about, should you go back to the website again? So we have classes up top, just scroll down some more, keep going through all, and then you'll have the Hunjungs, how do we sort them? Can't put them in a class as well, unless we can separate them into another class.
It is.
And then we got the supervising teachers here, how would we have to sort them?
By their name.
we give them a different class, like class 20, which, you know, doesn't matter, we could do that, just give them an ID number, class 20A, 20B, 20, whatever.
I mean, okay, so I can understand the grades, right? Like,
Yeah.
for these, or do they assign to grades?
No, they're not assigned. So these are just like maybe yum tea,
Uh-huh.
you know, they stand
Oh,
outside.
okay.
So
So-
that's why I'm giving them like a
Got it,
class
got it.
20.
Okay.
That way we can still use the same premise of the class number. So there is no class 20. You know, the class stops at, you know, 11, 10 or 11, right? So we give them class 20, we know they're automatically like a teacher or, you know, some sort
Yeah,
of
so basically
admin.
they're gonna,
It would put them
at the
bottom.
end, the bottom. Okay.
And then same thing for make it Hunju.
Yeah.
They switch around, so we need to be able to figure out how we can sort them. So we will put them, let's say, class 15,
Okay.
and then we'll just give them alphabetical letters, however we want
Yeah.
to sort them.
So
I
this
mean,
one-
that would make the code easier, so the code, we won't have to
Yeah.
change the code so much, you know what I'm saying, Hugh?
Yeah.
You know,
That's also where I sorted out over here as well, for their classifications.
That's sorted by the type of teacher,
Yeah,
but,
Yeah.
no, I think in the
but
back
if we
end.
really want like precise sorting, we would just need to add a column over here called sort order.
Mhm.
And then when the database reads it,
Mhm.
it just sorts by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So if, let's say right now, a teacher in class 7 gets moved to class 10, we just need to, if we update one, you know, let's say Ron's in class 7, I'm in class 10, and I'm number 10A, and he's 7B, for example. If I change him to 10A,
It will still be fine.
will it
because-
reallocate all the other, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
if you make one
if-
change,
so
does
with
all
this
the
over
regular?
here, okay?
Mhm.
If you change to 10A, it will move down to the 10A spot. It's just that when it comes to actually, like this over here,
Mhm.
8C over here,
Yeah.
depending on where they are in the database, we can't have this person show up to, next to this person over here.
Yeah, for like 8C, AC, it doesn't matter which way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
so
know.
if there's something like 10Cs or something like that,
Mhm.
we can't choose the actual order. over
No,
here.
that's fine, that's okay, I'm not too worried about that, it's more trying to get them in order so that we're so accustomed to 1 through 10 that we can go through all that. I was
Yeah.
just wondering how we would best change that.
Yeah, but for this itself, it should be fine.
Okay.
Alright, any other questions?
So currently who's doing this, maintaining this? Is Jen, you know,
Yeah.
you understand how to do this? Or do you want to have
She's been currently
take it
doing it, right?
offline with Hill?
Yeah, I might have to take it offline with him. He was
Yeah.
supposed to. This is months ago now.
Okay, Hill, can you schedule a online call with Jan for if you have any other question?
Just send me an email
Because-
with a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
please make sure you respond
Well,
in timely manner.
I don't have 2FA enabled yet, so
Oh.
I don't have access to, you know.
Okay.
So, here I have a similar issue. Can you go to like staff or quality?
Yeah.
Either one. So you see right here, right, we have order, in order, you know, the top, director, whatever, right?
Yeah,
But whenever I add the new person or modify something, that person will be on the top.
yeah, and that's because we do not have a sort order data type or data yet.
So how do we fix that?
We need to add that.
That's it.
We need to add it, just like we did with the class we were just talking about, I guess we came in late. But we're gonna add another column in there that, this is the sort order that needs to be done. Once it calls that, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, you know, whatever, and then whoever's at number 1 is gonna be the first picture.
So I have to get with you on that too.
Right, Hugh? That what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to get with you.
Okay, so basically we're gonna add another attribute called short order.
Sort
That's
order, yeah.
short order.
Sort order.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's that. You know, that take care of the, because yeah, I do. People complain. Okay, let's. I think we got that topic right. And let's move on
Okay.
to the next one.
Any other questions?
We good here, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we want to know, like for example, if we want to change the naming of those like departments, right? If we want to add another department, how we can do that? How do we go about doing? Let's say currently we have these, right? If we want to add another,
Let's say maintenance, for example, we're not saying maintenance anymore, we're gonna say floor people, things, something like that.
Yeah.
How would we go about and change that
And then-
wording in the database, or what database, do we have to go into the database
yeah,
directly?
yeah, we
Yeah.
can just go to
Okay.
one go.
So we go to nav header over here.
Mhm.
So currently right now, I would say the header, when I first made this, it can be a little bit confusing. But, so first, we just need to look at this specific header, and then, let's see, this. This is resource.
I think it's object one, I think.
And this is departments.
Yeah, sorry.
Alright, once we open departments, we see all the different departments over here. KHC, KGD. If we want to edit the specific translation of it, this is where we would do it over here.
Okay.
So, you know, if I just do this flag over here, and this admin 2, and update it. It shows admin 2 over there.
Yeah, so it's on the fly, right? So there's no code deployment needed. Everything's like, if you correct in the database, it updated, so that way it's easy for the admin. Because in the past, you have to, you know, do all those deployment, right? It's really bad.
So that's why I was asking, do we have a dev site, you know, just in case we wanna
Yeah.
really do a live, almost like semi-live.
Yeah, this is like, you just go into the base, you change it, the website will automatically update
I
it.
mean, if you want to do it locally, you can just go to the mockup stuff over here. Look up by administration, just change 2 over here, and then you just run the actual application itself.
Also, this is only local?
Yeah, local, if you want to test. So you have that local Mirage is the,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so that's the version of logo you
Yeah,
want to
and let's
run.
say this is like outdated or something, you can just go to the live database and you go export data. And then just basically export it all as a JSON file,
Okay.
drag it onto here, and then just edit it. And then, let's say you wanna, instead of making your edit on the actual database itself, you can basically edit it over here. And then after that, you can then delete all this data and then import it in from this.
How do we do that? I'm sorry, Hugh, it's been so, I've been doing that stuff, I totally forgot everything.
So let's take a non-impacting one like this one over here,
Uh-huh,
and let's export this full collection over here.
okay.
Call it announcement 2. So now that we have it here, let's say test.
Yeah, make sure you speak a little bit louder, okay?
All right,
And for the camera.
now, this is not ideal, all right, but we would want to delete all of the data over here.
This is local data, right?
No, this is live data right now.
It's okay, he knows what he's doing.
Refresh it, it's not in here.
Okay.
Then we go to import data, and then import the one we just edited. And then, there it is. Now, if we actually open the site, it'll show up as text. Or we just edit here, so either way, if you wanna do it. This one here is much more, instance, while this one over here allows you to just test stuff out.
Okay.
And actually see it locally before you, put the data over.
Is there gonna be plans to have like a API section, but to do all this.
So.
I mean, the whole thing is trying
Yeah, yeah,
to
I
get
know.
us off of maintaining it. you
Yeah,
know.
maintaining it on the database. I don't know if we have the bandwidth, to do that, you, you know, the team. So basically, Stu suggests that instead of going to MongoDB, make the change, we can make API to make the change, right?
Right. I mean, I mean, can we develop a different site totally off
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this one?
yeah, basically
Which,
internal site.
you know, so whatever they need to do, only they have
Yeah.
the credential, we give them super long password, whatever it is to make it secure. I mean, I'm not too worried about the security, because it's just public data anyways. But so that they can just go, bring up, okay, what do they wanna change, and they just do a menu drop down, and it just gives you, you know, header, subject, and text, and they, all that stuff in there, they submit it, it goes straight to the database, and it updates that database option. Or they wanna make a change, edit, they can click on the one they wanna edit, and then they just change that. There's no flair, it doesn't have to be pretty, you know, it's just, you know, it's just like you open up a message form, I wanna change this, they click on it, done, submit. Is that something simple to do, or?
That's, I mean, that we talked about that in the past. I'm not sure we,
It would be
started.
simple, but there is one complicated thing.
Uh-huh.
And that would be, so let's say, so you see how we have the carousel over here?
Uh-huh.
Alright, all of these images are being pulled from S3 over here.
Okay.
And if we wanna upload stuff over here, we would need to, you know, do an API integration with Amazon AWS.
Mhm.
And we would also need to integrate something called a File Explorer. So as an example here, so something like this, you know, this is actually integrated into Azure File Explorer. So you can actually create folders, you can go in here, you can upload stuff over here, you can download it, all that type of stuff. That takes, that will take like a bit of work.
So the only issue is just for the carousel, right?
Yeah,
But
for
everything
any-
else will be okay though?
Anything that is related to images, so like this over here. So like if you wanna update like staff images and stuff like that, if we wanna create a functionality where we just upload the image and then upload it to like S3, stuff like that.
Enough. You have the picture?
Yeah.
Is it?
Is it
I wanna see the sample from the.
Can you look up Jatan?
Go look at the clergy.
Yeah, I added that down with
It's
you
up already,
already.
I saw it.
He keep picking me.
Okay,
Last
yeah.
week.
So here's the thing, here, right? We need to,
But he needs to
you
move
see
up.
how Sir is here, right?
Yes, that was, I was talking
He has to
about.
be, she has to be afterward, right?
Yep.
Jatan has to be right after
there.
Jatan,
Uh-huh.
because this is a visiting priest. So Jatan is complaining that why he's not a visiting priest, he should be at the top.
Yes, right, yeah, we talked
That's
earlier.
so vain.
I'm gonna get with you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we just need a store.
That's definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, not important.
She's
Okay,
very important.
Just kidding.
Very important. She belongs on top. Yeah.
Just need a new picture.
Yeah. He needs to have an outfit.
Anything else?
Anyone knows the password? Wi-Fi password?
But.
Let's share it on the group.
So, other admin thing that, basic admin we want to, talk about here, because I'll make use of your time here and the team. Anybody has a question?
So here, right here on that
Go
page,
ahead.
you see right here, the submit page per request? Something basic, just like that, a page, don't even need to have a footer, don't even need a header, it just comes up this page like that, and they type the information in and push it
Yeah.
into the database, that's all they want, you know, change, if they need to change something.
I mean, I can show you an example of it. My other thing. Now, this is pretty